I'd say the first JK skit I ever saw was when Bart and Joe were dancing around and saying every day go to school to be the good boy.
Every day go to school to be the good boy.
When I first saw the video, it was pretty fucking stupid. Like, I didn't even see like what was the huge deal about it. All I just know is that my friend Thomas just kept on singing it every time I would see him. And he just like started doing like their dancing. It was literally the stupidest thing I've ever seen at that point of my life. I thought like they were just going to like fade off into obscurity or just no one was going to hear from them again. It was just like one of those viral videos at the time. I was just like, whatever about it. Life as a kid was pretty good. I was born in Lakewood, New Jersey. My mom was working most of the time. So as a kid, we were pretty poor. Like, we basically went from hotel to hotel at sometimes, just like living off of like the bare minimum. As in my dad, he wouldn't really like help my mom with that much. My dad, he'd smoke and drink while my mom would be like working most of the time. And when my mom wasn't working, she'd take me to the movies. But then it was like those stories that pretty much like stuck well with me, and it was an escape from my dad who would be smoking and drinking. Because then I think my mom, she didn't want me to just be like stuck at home and just being like around like my dad. By my mom taking me to the movies, it kind of sort of painted happy environments. So I could sort of like escape all the troubles and just, you know, watch something visual, watch like a story. And that's probably why I like watching so many movies. And after my mom and my dad's divorce, I moved down to South Carolina. And during that time, my mom would be working while also getting her degree while I'd be going to school. I would say school life was pretty cool. The reason why I gravitated towards visual arts would probably be because for a majority of my life at that instance, like a lot of things that I'd see or that I was attracted to would be visual. I was attracted to movies, I was attracted to cartoons. I was a very visual kid. I drew a lot. Pretty much every single day. What I would do is, back then, I think Pokemon was like really big. So what I would end up doing is buy the books, like the strategy guide books that had the pictures of like the Pokemon, and I'd spend like my whole day just like redrawing them. Like, it amused me. It got me entertained. Another thing about South Carolina at the time, I didn't really know about like the Asian or Mexican culture at all. I didn't even know they existed. The cultures that were in South Carolina was predominantly white and black. It wasn't really that much of a big deal for me because then I didn't really see race that much. I was over that. I didn't really care. I think like at an early age, for me, I always had this belief of like, why let society paint me when I could just like paint myself. My relationship with my stepfather at the time was, well, it was pretty horrible. It wasn't at the time, it was horrible pretty much all the time. He wasn't a very nice guy. He proposed to my mom. So from South Carolina, I had moved to San Gabriel, California. So the color scheme of everything went from black to white to Asian and Mexican. I think the first time I actually saw an Asian person, it was off of the show Little Bill. Coming out here to California, that was like the first time I actually saw anyone of Asian ethnicity or Mexican ethnicity at all. And I had a friend that was Mexican, but then he was pretty dark at the time. I thought he was African American for a good majority until later on he was like, no, I'm fucking Mexican. And I was like, oh shit. And then it was a pretty big eye-opener for me. Since there wasn't that many black people in San Gabriel, everyone pretty much knew me or got to know me like my first week or two. So it was just like, hey, have you guys heard about Josh, blah, blah, blah. It was like, literally, I was more well known than anyone just because like the color of my skin. Because then people saw like how big like my feet were, or like my arm length, so then they're like, oh shit, he's just like Shaquille O'Neal. Like, you need to play basketball, but I wasn't really into basketball. Basketball at the time was just something I did to burn time, really. I wanted to be a manga artist. I wanted to make my own comic books. I wanted to make my own manga, but then I stopped after a while because people were like, when I would draw Dragon Ball Z, people were like, why are you drawing naked guys? And I was like, it's a character. But then people just kept on thinking like weird things, and I was like, fuck, let me start drawing them with clothes on. But then you know how Dragon Ball Z is, most of the time they end off with like big muscles and just like clothes ripped off. So then I stopped that after a while, and I started getting into like other drawings, or started drawing like a lot of like the good anime at the time. And the reason why I was beginning this interest of anime and manga at the time was because then childhood consisted of Saturday morning cartoons. While American cartoons were good, they were okay, but when I started watching like anime or so, what really got to me was the whole story aspect, that like, oh, you have to like literally watch like each and every episode, because each and every episode tells a story from the last part and just keeps on carrying over and carrying over and carrying over. And that's what really got me into anime, the story base. American cartoons were more skits, whereas anime was more story. Going into San Gabriel, I think people expected me to be more black. The first time I played basketball was around a whole bunch of Asian people, and a lot of people expected me to make my shots. When they would pass me the ball, I'd try to shoot and it'd go over the backboard, or it would just be completely off.
I was below average. You know, so, whoa. Let it ride!
Do I get points for that?
My friends would introduce like popular African American pop culture, like Tupac or. I didn't even know who they were. Like, I think the first time.
Tupac.
I mean Tupac. I didn't really like how I had to be a certain way just because society wanted me to, or just because society is used to seeing people of my skin color being a certain way. I thought it was actually pretty offensive, because then it was just like, why should I let you paint me when I can just be myself? Predominantly, a lot of my friends were Asian, but then they're all like, hey, my mom or like my dad may be racist, so I'm not sure if like you can like come over or not.
Is he the black guy? Why you like the black guy?
Pretty much the way I was brought up was, I introduce myself, I say hi, yes ma'am, yes sir. So when I'd meet the parents, I'd just be like, oh hi, how are you? I literally keep up a conversation, and like my friends would be like, dude, stop sucking ass. But it was just literally how I would just, like talk to people. And then like later on, like my friends, like they would be like, yeah, my parents met you, and they're like, he's not like other black people. I literally like win parents over just by the way I acted. Before the end of high school, I was actually already thinking about like my major, like what I wanted to major in. My mom had always told me like she'd basically support me or any decision with like what I make. Ever since I was a kid, story-driven things were always my thing. So I was just like, let me get into film and make my own stories. Originally, I had met Joe through a mutual friend. My mutual friend was like, hey, I know a few people that are like into the film thing, and me and Joe started talking. I actually didn't know who Joe and Bart were. I didn't know like they were the same people that made that video that I saw until like later on. I was just like, oh shit. Like when I started like looking at like all like their old videos, I was like, oh, so it's these people again. They're actually doing something. They're actually like putting time, putting effort, putting money. It's like, you know what, let me actually just become a part, and let me start doing like what they're doing. Let me become a part of their group, because then it's something that I want originally, and it's something I want to grow off of. First time I was working with JK, I think it was at Casey's house. And I think that was like my huge like, oh shit, this shit is fucking real. We're shooting in the restroom. We're trying to make it look as though Gio like is trying to take a shit. But then I'm just like, how is this like gonna work out? But then I think Gio like pulls on her pants and everything, and I'm like, no. Oh fuck. And then I like take a step back, and I'm like, oh shit, 100% commitment. I like it. That was like pretty much like the big eye opener for me. That was like my first skit, and that's how I started becoming a part of JK. I think what JK has taught me, just still do me, and just don't ever change for anyone. I don't need to be a stereotypical black guy in order to be happy. I just need to be myself. Something I think a lot of people have trouble with at a very young age. Just do you and be happy. Alright, thank you guys for watching that episode, or my episode of How We Met. If you guys want to check out last week's episode, which is Brandon, click the link on this side. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching my episode. I think what a lot of you guys go through at a young age is probably like anxiety of like, oh, should I be me, or oh, should I do what my parents want to do? And it's perfectly fine. We all go through it. If you've seen all of the How We Mets, we literally all went through the same step: anxiety, depression, just like the early stages, because then we all don't know what we want to be, but it's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Just keep doing you, be you, and love yourself for every flaw and everything that happens to you. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment below, subscribe please, and stay tuned for whatever happens on the next episode of JK Films, or JKB, or JKG. See ya. Bye. 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 Oh, fade to black, fade to black, fade to black, fade to black.
Let's just take one with Josh, How We Met. We didn't even start yet.
I know. Alright. What? Ask me already.